Well, good afternoon and welcome to X's Expresso, Explorers Expresso. Dan Vaughn with you from here in Fargo, and we're in the Fargo Holiday Inn Studios this morning or this afternoon. Check the audio; it sounds just marvelous this morning. Morning for me, afternoon for you folks. We come your way in the lunch hour today from here in Fargo. Nothing exotic on the set. There's no pool today or coffee shop. We're just in the room. It sounded like a good idea yesterday to get out and about, but then I realized, it's getaway day, which usually is a pretty good idea. Only problem is where you'd want to go get out and about as far as shooting the show is about a 10-minute ride, and to get there and get back for our bus at 3:30, not impossible, but we're going to go a little behind today because we got game notes and things like that, and that's got to get in the books first. And so I just logistically didn't work out today. Got to tell you, this series, the game 2 nights ago was long. The trip over was long. It's been a long, not a long road trip as far as days are concerned, but it's been a little exhausting for me. I mean, I want to say exhausting. I think tiresome. The games were nip and tuck. We've not had any kind of, the games have been boring. They've been very, very intense. Every game, including Gary, the games in Gary were very intense, very nip and tuck. A lot of grinded out. I think the guys in general have really spent it all on this trip, and I've got one more game in them, and then they'll be home for the next week. But it's been a good trip. Could be really good tonight. You have a chance to have a winning road trip again. That'd be huge. Have a chance to win a series in Fargo for the third time this year, which has never been done by this club in the American Association in the same year. Now, you've had winning records here. You've had winning records here lately. Despite having losing records against Fargo last year, you had success here in 1 or 2 series. But you have a chance to win 3 consecutive series here, which probably makes you feel pretty good going forward, knowing that, if you had to come up here, you might just have to win a game in the postseason, perhaps. I mean, I think that bodes well for your confidence going forward. That's in play. And again, the winning road trip. And then you've got this jumbled up thing going on, what's been going on now since since Kansas City and Fargo kind of separated themselves from each other. And it's been Fargo, Sioux City, Lincoln in some form or fashion the last, 8 weeks. Until recently, and now Sioux Falls in the mix. Our friend Kevin Luco, right this week in the association, speak the truth and honor Kevin. Yeah, I missed a game with Gary a few years ago because I spoke the truth. Well, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, yes and no. It was sort of a little bit of hodgepodge of stuff. It was kind of ridiculous in hindsight, but I'm not the only one. A couple of the guys have had that over the years. That's not happened in a while, though. I think the league in general has been really good to kind of let the guys do as they want. And last night, the umpiring behind the plate, not good for either teams. It was consistent, and it looked like it was a ball, and I don't blame him for being upset about it. I even said in the air, you could hear my voice. I kind of say, I got it. And sometimes we get ahead of ourselves on our calls. There were 2 check swings against the X's. Tyler Rando, I don't think he moved the shoulders. And then the one that went against Ortega when Garrett Alexander was all over the place and nearly hit him, and he's trying to get out of the way of it. And if anything, that's trying to get out of the way of it. He's not trying to swing at it. And they don't ask for an appeal there, but they asked for an appeal 2 batters later for them and got an appeal and got a strike. So, yeah. But I think the league, though, WD's been really good at not policing. There's a couple guys that are in the league, and I'd be one of them, um, who've been known to speak their mind, but also in the positive way too. If a guy makes a great play, he makes a great play, whether it be Forest Shoe City or not. Uh, and I've pointed out when umpires have been good as well. So, but I think the league in general has been better the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And I think a little bit of it is, it's an emotional thing for a lot of us. We're not getting paid, you know, $500,000 a year to call games, whatever it is you get paid in the big leagues, which is, that's not the point. We don't have agents to give us a contract that should we get let go, we've got something kind of net. We don't have that. We are grassroots guys who are professionals and really good. I mean, this league is full of really good voices. I mean, I count, Brad Allred down in Cleveland is one of my dearest friends and a mate of mine who is passionate as they come. Doug Greenwald is done a really great work in Winnipeg this year, replacing a guy who did really great work before, and Steve Schuster. Tanner Hoops in Sioux Falls is just one of the finest young men you're ever going to meet. And, Sam Briefer we'll see this weekend. I've known him, well, he's a young man still, but he's been in this league 4 years now and become pretty good mates with him. Really like him a lot. There's a lot of really good voices out there that do really great work. Jack Michael's here. I mean, Jack even looked at me last night, and I don't think he minds me saying this, but he looked at me last night, and we were both gesturing each other that the calls were rough for both teams. It wasn't just for Fargo, it wasn't just for Sioux City. And he's smart enough to know that it works both ways. So what I'm trying to say is it's good the league lets us do what we do because we don't have the backing of an agent or, we don't have the big contract that's guaranteed. Should they let us come as one who's been through the ringers in this league, there's no parachute net at all where, these big league guys have got agents, so they've got, a little bit more of a nest egg that they can fall back on, and I'm telling you right now, Jack Michaels, Doug Greenwald, Brad could all call big league games today. Just hadn't had that opportunity. And it's about, and there's only so many of those jobs out there. There are a lot of really good broadcasters out there and young guys too coming up right now, like Dominic in Lake Country, Ryan Zimmerman over in Gary. I mean, those are young guys that got bright futures that are going to really, do some things. Michael Dixon's a guy that you could easily right now be in AAA, and he's over in Lincoln and does phenomenal work. So, I mean, again, you've got some really good talent here, and I think the league knows that and lets the talent do their thing. If that means, now granted, there's a fine line there. What Kevin Brown said with the Baltimore Orioles was nothing more than what the graphics tell you. When I tell you that walk last night was a killer, it's what is a killer. And the funny thing about it was when I pointed out last night, their starter walked 4 with 1 intentional walk, so 5 total. Your starter walked 1. The 1 walk your starter walked came home to score. The 5 were 5, and and I said it's a crazy game. But where does that fall? Well, that falls where the offense not taking care of the opportunity. I mean, what else can you say, right? Oh, the bats. You don't. These guys don't expect you to say, "Oh, poor so and so. He didn't see the ball well, and it's not his fault." They don't expect that either. That sounds ridiculous. But if you make a play, you make a play. The point is, what you got to remember is not to cross the line and say anything personal. They're all trying. I think the great example is what Steve Montgomery said about Nate Gherkin, and Nate would tell you this. He's not going to sugarcoat it. Nate tells you when he's good. He tells you when he's not been very good. And Nate's not had a Nate Gherkin year. Steve said that. We've all known that. But there's no reason to beat the dead horse about it because the numbers show it. And he goes out there every day and gives you something he gives you his all every day. And it's all you ask. So there's no reason to dogpile that his numbers are a little higher this year. He knows it. I know it. We all know it. And some of the fans have voiced some concerns about it. And Mongo had heard them. He addressed it on the pregame show the other day. And again, that's how you handle negative situations. There's no reason to dogpile on somebody. You know it. I know it. Right? I mean, Brendan Heiss, who's had numbers have gone down, but Heiss got in a bit of a spot last night When he came in, and in his defense, I said he comes in cold. He's got a warm. He wasn't prepared to be in the ball game, but he was. And he gave those 2 runs up. Granted, one was a pass ball that's unearned. He doesn't get charged an earned run. One's an inherited runner, goes to Gherkin's line. Because remember, Nate gets hurt, which, by the way, I have no update on yet. I'll try to find out for the game time tonight. The point is, those numbers tell themselves. And if I say on the air those walks are killers or the X's have got to keep it a 1-run ball game, I'm stating the obvious. If you don't, that changes the entire complexion of that 9th inning. And it happened twice in the road trip where you had a 1-run ball game going late and you couldn't hold it. That's not dogpiling anybody. That's not being negative. That's just a fact. If I don't say that, then I'm not doing my job to report what's going on. And my job is to be your eyes and ears and to fill in the gaps there, because you're going to come in and out. As a viewer and listener, you're coming in on the broadcast, and I got to fill those gaps in. And stating that, you keep it a 1-run ball game, it gives you 1 swing to tie it up. Suddenly you're down by 3. It changes everything in that 9th inning. And I think that's the point I was talking. That was not by no means that being negative, but I'm just going back to last night's broadcast where you have to sometimes tell the story the proper way. Everything can't be, oh, little Johnny tried and tough luck for little Johnny. Sometimes little Johnny dropped the ball or missed the ball. I mean, we're not Little League. We're professional baseball. But you do it with class and dignity. And the thing that there's nothing hurts me more to see these guys who you care about deeply and watch we're watching guys every day. I mentioned yesterday that, you guys saw on the show that we had the birthday party for Delbin's, or they had a birthday party with Delbin's daughter. You can't watch those guys and the emotion they give and how given they are to Delbin's daughter and how given they are as a team, how much they love each other and not be touched by that. And then when you see things go bad, you're upset about it. You hurt for them. And I say this, and I've said this for years, and this has been my mantra. This has been my calling card over the years. You tell it like it is. That's what you do. You tell it like it is without being personal, remembering that there's somebody's son, daughter, whatever, I'm done, women's basketball, whatever. You remember that. But you also know this is where I think the human element comes in. You ride a bus with somebody every day, you get to know their ups and downs, you get to know their families. I've gotten to know, I've enjoyed getting to know Bobby Post this year, for example. I didn't know Bobby I knew of him. I knew him. We'd say, hello, how you doing? But I've gotten to become pretty good mates with Bobby. Mongo and I have always been close. Even when I was in other cities, I was very big fan of his. We always text. I knew him well. I've gotten to know Josh and the coaching staff, Bruce, our trainer, players. Got to know Matt Lloyd's family, for example. Getting to know these guys on a one-on-one basis and getting to see what they're about. You can't be with these people every day and not get emotionally attached. And if somebody tells you that, oh, well, I'm a journalist, I just tell it like it is, I don't care. Well, you're full of it. You can't be human. You're not human. You're not human. This is not being evangelical. This is being facts. I mean, if you are calling the games for the Iowa Hawkeyes, you want the Iowa Hawkeyes to do well because you've got to know the folks in the Iowa Hawkeye locker room. And you've gone the ups and downs. But baseball especially is different. Baseball, because the relationship between the players, fans, and it goes back to the turn of the last century. I'll even tie that into it. There was a time when the writers still do in the major leagues travel with the team. If you're, for example, the Texas Rangers have a beat writer for the Telegram in Fort Worth and the Dallas paper, Dallas Morning News. Those beat writers travel every game, home and away. They don't write remotely. They're there covering the game on the road. And that's a long-time tradition that goes back 1900s, where teams would travel with media. Oftentimes the media traveling for the paper would be the official score and keep stats, and they were sort of a quasi part of the team. They were our boys. They were our guys. You wouldn't see them write scandalous things about Babe Ruth being out late, which he might have been, but they wouldn't do that. That wasn't something they wrote about. They didn't write about that stuff. They wrote about the team winning and losing, and they told the story of the ups and downs, and that's what they did. It was a relationship to the ball club, the player, and the media. That's not the same anymore in the big leagues, okay? It's not like that. But it's much more like that at our level where where we're together. And, of course, the big leagues, the broadcasters are part of the team too. They travel with the team. Now, the story of Vin Scully sitting in the front row of the Trotter with a glass of wine and greeting every player by name and every member of the staff by name, that's a legend. That's actual stuff, a legend, where Vince Scully knew everybody. The traveling secretary on down to the third equipment manager, who all would travel. And, the broadcasters travel to big leagues too. They've usually on the charter flights. But, there's a bit of a barrier there in the big leagues, right? The big league salary has gotten so high. The broadcast salaries are pretty big too. They're not as big as that, but they're still big. Where it's a lot more ground down to earth here. We're all very close equals and everything. So, but again, you go, yeah, I don't know why my wife's trying to stir up stuff on the show here, Brad. I was just saying, Brad, what I'm saying is that she was contributing to the show, which I appreciate, but just saying that about how we all tell like it is and all that kind of stuff, and how we're blessed as broadcasters, and how this league's got some really good guys that are not really policed in general. I mean, obviously you're not going to cross the line, but we have a lot of passionate guys who speak their mind, and the league has let us speak our mind, and the teams let us speak our mind. I think that's a real testament to the quality of broadcasters that we have, and that we don't have those issues. And I think that, again, our guys aren't crossing the line and saying things like, player A is terrible, he sucks. We're not saying that, right? But, and Brad is right there with Cleveland. He's a passionate guy, speaks his mind. I think he's what I'm talking about. And he has good relationships with the players he covers. Some very dear friends of his are guys in that roster who his family's brought, kind of become part of their family. And that's what you get at this level. You don't get that at the big leagues. And so I think there's a throwback to what we do here. And that's why I go back to the same thing I say every time. You cannot ride that bus with those guys and get to know, like I said, Delvin Zinn's little daughter having her 1-year-old birthday, and see the smile on her face, all these big brothers around her, and she's had a time of her life yesterday, and not be touched, not care about these guys. But at the same time, I think it doesn't, you take out the element of, okay, I'm going to be a jerk about them personally, because that never happens. But you still can be fair. And I think they expect that. And I don't think you can say, oh, well, so-and-so lost the ball in the lights, even though the lights aren't a problem. Now, if Vince Fernandez, like he did their night, did this, that means he lost the ball in the lights, right? And if he clearly doesn't see the ball, he lost the ball in the lights. That's not a crime. That's just stating a fact. And that's not dogpiling on Vince at all. There was a hot shot to third that Matt Lloyd yesterday. His body reaction tells me he thought he should have had it. It was hit. It was a smash. I don't know if anybody makes that play cleanly, but it was that third base hot corner right on him, and Lloyd stabs at it. I thought he was going to make a play on it. I think he thought so too. It would have been a nice play. And he kind of hits his glove on the ground in frustration because he thought he should have had it. That was part of the play. That's what I said, that he should have had it because he believed he should have had it, not because I thought he should have had it. Right? So anyway, speaking your mind is one thing, and I think this broadcast crew in our league do that. You got me on a tangent, WD. This was not the plan, but hey, you get on these tangents, that's fine. And the league's been really good. It's unfortunate. And what you see, and that's the thing. Every home run's not a blast way out of here, but they're home runs, right? And you can adjust you're still excited whether it be a home run. I was watching a highlight of Jose Sermo this morning that popped up, and it was a Jose Sermo home run. They're all about the same, right? And they get excited. They're exciting. And Texas fans have seen those Jose Sermo home runs, but every play's not the seventh, game 7 of the World Series, but they're big plays. And you go adjust emotionally. I mean, a solo home run when you're down 9-0, it's still a home run, but it's a little different than if you're up 9-1, right? And you adjust accordingly. But I think, the fans expect it. I mean, everything can't be, just poor us, we had bad luck. And that's why I started with the whole umpire conversation to begin with, because, what I said was that it was bad for both teams. It was, when Manny was gone, I thought that was ball 4. I'm like, I haven't said, thankfully, that was not ball 4, because it sure looked like ball 4, and everybody in the ballpark thought it was ball 4. Jack and I are like looking at each other going like, But if I say, oh, right down the middle when it wasn't, everybody else, and that's why a lot of times you hear the fans say, and I'll say, that pitch was close, but not that close, because I got a little better view upstairs, right? With the guy that's sitting in the left field corner who's booing because he thinks that's a strike. And I try to clarify if the fans react, oh, it's close, it's close. You'll hear me say a close one. I don't have to sit there and debate them, or I'll say that wasn't that close. I don't know what they're looking at. I'll tell you that. But the Manny Moscon one last night was not close. And my voice was already sitting to first base and went like, Anyway, what do you guys got besides that? Anyway, we're very blessed in this American Association. Again, if you cross the line and call a guy out, just being a jerk, that's on us. That's on the broadcaster. But that doesn't happen. This is not New York. Everybody has a love affair with New York media, but they're jerks on the radio to their teams, and that's just what they do. That's just part of what the fandom is up there. Philadelphia's the same way. That's what they do. We don't do that necessarily in our league. Again, the funny thing about it is you can take Brad, not because he's here, not because he's a dear mate, Doug, Sam, I don't know, Michael, plug them right now to big league booth, wouldn't miss a beat. There's not that much difference in the broadcast. I'm telling you right now, the broadcast voices in this league, there's not that much difference, if any difference, to the guys calling games right now with Orioles, the Yankees, whoever. And yeah, and Brad, I'm going to put this up on the screen too. Brad got 2 good points. It's tough to pill to swallow when you're passionate about your team on nights. You just, yeah. It's tough. I got to tell you, it's like I said last night. Exeter down 1-0, and we're one swing away at any point in time in the ball game, late in the game, but you get flat out beat. You gave up runs. You did things you hadn't been doing this week, and it happens. It sucks. But you care, and you move on, but you care. It sucks, man, I tell you. And Brad also brings a point up. It's our responsibility to call them, yes. I think I go Nate Gherkin. Nate and I have never had this conversation, but I know Nate well enough that I believe that if I was to go out and say, oh, just unlucky Nate, he'd look at me and go, well, not really. I didn't throw the ball very well. Right? Now, if he didn't get a call, that's one thing. I'll say that, Where's that, example, the balk. Nate had a stretch where there was some balk calls against him. He had not changed. If he had not had that conversation about how he didn't change anything he'd been doing for years. And suddenly he's getting called for a balk. And that was not a defense. That was a conversation he and I had already about one balk. He got another balk called. And, I was able to come to his defense, and it was genuine because we'd had that conversation, and he was not sure what he did. I didn't just make it up. And I didn't say, oh, poor guy, whatever. Yeah, absolutely. Last night, Colton Davis, you tip your cap. He was 1 inning better, and not even 2 batters better, I guess, than Heitor Tokar, who allowed 1 earned run in 6 1/3 innings. It was great. I'm sorry, 5 1/3. I think Davis went 6. Is that right? I got my box score in my head kind of backwards. And Davis walked 5. Tokar walked 1. The one he walked was the 1 run that came home. And that's just the bad luck of the game. It's the way the game works. We tip your cap. And last night, Colton Davis was the difference in the ball game for them because the X's offense just didn't do anything going when they needed to, and they had runners aboard with 2 outs. Didn't do anything done. And really, heck, Chris Coast walking Matt Lloyd with 1 out and a runner at second. And the X's couldn't deliver a key RBI situation. So on a righty matchup. Kevin says, let's get to me as Major League Broadcasters. They're under marching orders. Yes and no. But again, I think that's correct. They are under marching orders, right? They got and what they're getting, they get the PR department involved, the marketing department involved, the Major League front office, player development office involved, ownership involved. They got a lot of people in their ear. But I think I think, and this is me here, and why I believe that if I ever got a chance, I think I can handle it because, again, you be fair, number one, and treat them like you want to be treated. And two, if you're passionate, I think that covers a lot of ills. I don't think that, passion can be misguided sometimes as negative. But if you're positive passion and tell the truth, I think that can cover up a lot of that whole, you got to say it this way and that way. And some places are better than others. And I think a lot of it depends on where you're at. Where you're at, you're expected to, the fandom expects certain things. The fandom in New York City expects certain things that you don't have to have in San Diego. Chicago expects certain types of responses from their voices that you don't have to get in the Twin Cities. I can tell you right now, DFW is not a market that's going to bash you for being mad at the Rangers. Now the Cowboys, everybody's bashing them left and right. You talk about a different standard. And the Dallas Cowboys in that market, they sneeze and it's front page news. And everybody's got an opinion, including the owner, who's going to tell you, who's got his own shills telling what to say. The Dallas Cowboys have their own little star network of people that write for them but they also have to sometimes cover the truth. And boy, Dak threw 3 picks. One was a pick 6. That's a fact. Jerry Jones can't hide that. And that's a challenge for those guys. But in major markets, and I think it depends on A, the sport, and B, where you're located. And say, like, for example, the Yankees, that coverage is passionate for the journalism side of things. And people are going to be cruel. Fans expect certain things. They expect their broadcasters to be held to a higher standard too. Where in a market, I say softer, maybe less passionate, but still major market. DFW is every bit the market that New York is. I believe it'll be third in the next, when they reshuffle the deck chairs again. It'll be DFW, it'll be New York, Los Angeles, DFW. They will pass Chicago. So that's a major market. People don't realize it, but I don't think in general that the Rangers hold their broadcasters to a kind of standard that the Yankees or perhaps the Orioles, is a great example. That's what we're talking about. Hold their people to. But yeah, you're right. Major League is a sugarcoat. It's a long season too, right? And they're in the business of selling tickets. Don't forget that too. And yes, it's about winning, but give me a team that stinks. Who stinks right now? Who's really bad? Well, the last few years, I was watching Detroit, Minnesota last night after the game. Detroit's been really bad, and they're still in the business selling tickets. That's a hard sell when you're really bad, right? So the broadcast team can make them sound that much better and that much the world's greatest baseball team that's below 500, well, so be it. And that's why I go back, and this is what I like doing our broadcast, and I hope you guys will tune in that are fans of the X's and listen to what we're doing, because I'm going back to the turn of the last century, the 1930s and other spots, and giving you tidbits of time then and way things were. And there are a lot of things similar, a lot of things were different. The passion was still there amongst the journalists, which you don't get today. Today, the journalist the journalism of the day has gone from being passionate coverage of your team to inform the viewer and listener back in 1910 to sound bites, post on social media, and oh, by the way, can I bring something great and scandalous and get me more viewers and more clicks and more followers? And that's the sad part. That's blurred. That journalism is blurred now to include social media, which is good. Social media has its place. We're on social media right now. But anyway, well, I got all kinds of off on tangents today. All it took was one quote from WD-40 to get me way, way off the map here. So I was going to be short here and just talk about the game and talk about what's going on. Yeah, I agree. You want to find something good. I get that, but that's not the story, right? You get beat 10-0, you got beat 10-0. And like Brad said, you wear it, man. What do you do? Yeah, Baghdad Bob. You guys remember Baghdad Bob back in the day during the Gulf War, where here's the United States Army on the doorstep of Baghdad. They're bombing the crud out of Iraq. It's clearly obvious things aren't going well for them. And here's this guy, this spokesman, who's speaking for the country on live TV, saying, "All good here, nothing to see. Stay calm. We're winning the battle," and clearly they're not. I mean, yeah, and it was laughable. Carried on CNN and Fox and all that. You're just going like, seriously? The second Gulf War, right? Yeah, second Gulf War. You're like going, he actually, I think he was a spokesman both, wasn't he? You're kind of like, I mean, we're watching the U.S. troops just waltz around like just a freeway to Baghdad, and he's telling us, "Oh yeah, we're all good." I mean, we don't want that anyway. All right, a lot at stake tonight. Salmon Bates is back on a trajectory to tie or pull ahead just slightly of the 2015 Patrick Johnson 132 strikeout mark for the single season at Sioux City. That's in play tonight. Well, let me put my questions up here. But Bates at 106. He's averaging around 6.5 right now. It's a little down for him. He was around 7 at one point. He got down to 5. I think a combination of several things. I think Solomon, he knows the record's there. I think right now he's 6th all time in the franchise. I know they don't like the word franchise, but that's where he's at. But he's also, when he has to do the strikeout, he does. When his defense has got to work behind him, he does. I don't think he's going up there saying, I got to strike out 8 or 9 or 10. He's going up there and saying, I got to get guys out. How am I going to get them out? And I think that's what he's doing. That's what the strikeouts have been like this all year. He's had 11, 6, 9, 4. He's had that go up and down. So that's just the mark of a guy who's really in a good groove. And tonight, I don't think Solomon facing they got one of the guys coming for the bullpen. Not necessarily the bullpen. He pitched last week against this there in Sioux City, but Kevin Pilot, who's got good numbers and a limited sample size, a little bit like Davis had last week in the start at Sioux City, who pitched great yesterday. And anyway, yes, great feature. Solomon Bates. By the way, that feature was shot at Hawks. Part of it was at Hawks Coffee Shop, which is part of this show in Sergeant Bluff. I didn't even mention their name earlier. Sergeant Bluff. They're in Sergeant Bluff, Iowa. Hawks Coffee Shop. Can't beat it. Their coconut cold brew right now with little shavings and the cream. It's really, really good. Great for a warm August. And then you've got still the July when you can get just ask for the Explorers Expresso, and they'll give you that cold brew. It's got the s'mores foam, and that was Solomon Bates designed. And he gives a thumbs up on that. It's really good. So good we've had guys from other teams go in and get it. Rick is on the way to Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles. Listening on the border, Nebraska-Colorado border. Boy, what's out there? I think of that kind of being as like maybe toward the end of the earth where you can see it from there. Are there mountains that way? I mean, I know Colorado's beautiful, don't get me wrong, but the last time I drove from Denver across Kansas, I remember being, once you got out of Denver a ways and you got out toward the west, or toward to the east of Colorado and the western Kansas, wasn't much out that way. I assume Nebraska's out that way, although who knows, I may be wrong. Which kind of on a whole different animal. I'm looking to make a drive up to on the way home after the season's over. I'm going to swing around Mount Rushmore in that direction down through Wyoming just to go a different way. Take me an extra day, but why not? If you're going to be up that way, might as well see it, right? Let's see here. Yeah, that's feature. It was a good feature. Amber did a really good job. We're really blessed there. We have 2 TV stations. So that's high here. Two affiliates. The third affiliate closed their local news market, their local news operation a few months ago, the CBS Fox affiliate. And they still have programming. They don't have any local news programming. And then we've got the NBC and the ABC. They do a great job at both. They're out. That's one thing we're very fortunate about. I mean, they cover us. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the Siouxland. You got high school football and playoff baseball and softball and stuff like that. It just wrapped up, and you got football coming up, and you got colleges and all that. And they're also covering us, and we do appreciate that. So yeah, really good piece. I'll try to retweet that. I saw it. I haven't seen the whole thing, but also a good one. They had Steve Montgomery on last Sunday night, and I think that's up on our Facebook page as well. So anyway, tonight, again, Bates going tonight, Kevin Pilot. So again, what's at stake tonight? A chance to win a series, finish the road trip with a winning record. This playoff jumble, it's in there right now. It's right now at the moment, the X's is sort of at the moment grabs second place, not by the throat and holding on, but they've got a grip on it. I don't know how tight that grip is, because the way this division is, it seems like that grip can be slippery at best. But Lincoln sort of seemed like they were there for a day or two. And of course Fargo had kind of been that spot for a while, but they've been on hard times. A big game for them. I mean, they could cut the deficit to 1, push it back to 3 again. So it's big from that standpoint too. Head to head, you got 3 more against them coming up 2 weeks time, the last homestand. So Sioux Falls is lurking. Sioux Falls will hit the cover off the baseball in that ballpark, but they'll also give up about 30 runs. So there's that. But they're lurking in the wings. Since we say that every year around July, they're lurking. They're a little later lurk this year, but they're still there. And they've got, let me see, I don't have their numbers in front of me. I've got everybody else's, but theirs, I will tell you quickly here. I think I've got it. I don't know if they win this list of games here or not. They do have head-to-head at best. I do know that. I don't remember who else they've got. I think they've got Lincoln. Anyway, I don't have them in the game notes. I have Kansas City, Fargo, Sioux City, and Lincoln, all the game notes, the head-to-heads, but I don't have them in there, but I'm guessing I'm going to put them in there. Yeah, I don't know anything more than that I said earlier. I don't know. I don't know. He was on the bus last night, but I was in the front of the bus. I didn't stop and turn around. I probably should have. We were actually discussing up front more or less just some of the interesting umpiring decisions last night. And also discussing, they were asking me who had who left. I have a sheet on all that, but I didn't get a chance to see Nate after the game, and I didn't see anybody afterwards. I grabbed a late dinner across the way, but I didn't see anybody there. But I will have an update for you this afternoon on the broadcast. I will. I apologize. I don't have that, but don't have anything more than what we said last night. There was obviously some kind of soreness. He pitched a lot. He pitched back-to-back on Sunday, back-to-back ball games, doubleheader. And he's been a workhorse. Every day, Nate, he goes out every day, takes the ball. He's always up. He's always up. What that means is when a guy says, "Are you up today?" If you ask a player, "Are you up today?" in a bullpen or a reliever, is he ready to throw today? Are you up? He's always up. There's sometimes guys aren't up. You'll see them, they're flat shoes, or they'll be coaching a first base. But he was up. He was always up. That's Nate Gherkin. And I think that was the surprise last night. But we'll get an update for you tonight, which takes you to the broadcast tonight. Austin's in the studio. I'll be here in Red Hawk Land. We start at A Baseball TV. They do a solid. They start us. When we start, they start. So the pregame is on A Baseball TV. Now, let me preface this, though. There are going to be some dead air gaps on that, not because of us, the way the technology is. Austin does not come out of I hear him, right? You guys hear him on the radio. I don't know about on TV at home. I'm on TV at home. He doesn't matter. TV, he's there. But you don't always hear him the breaks and the updates, and you don't always hear him the pregame. So there's going to be some gaps in the pregame where you're not going to hear any programming. We're there, but you're hearing him. But because the way he's in the studio in Sioux City, he shoots it back down the line to me. I hear it. It's going over the air from Sioux City, and then my audio goes over the air from there. It goes over the air from there, but his audio shoots back to me. But I don't have the ability to shoot his audio back over the air. Technical stuff right there. But we'll be on the air on A Baseball TV. They do a great job here. Some really good replays. I think the replays, along with Sioux City's replays are really good. Matt's done a great job with those. They do a really good job here as well. So I got replays going for you tonight, so you can make a call on what the right play, right call is or not. And then we got, of course, the beauty of it all, the theater of the mind, KSCJ. Love it. This has been a great experience. I've done radio all my life, but I haven't done brick and mortar radio in quite a while because it's sort of gone away in major markets. But when I was in Kansas City, they didn't have the gumption to go put it on a radio station. They just don't, and Sioux City does, because that's what they do. It's a 3-hour promotion of your product. We're very fortunate to have that radio deal, and it's great. It's awesome. So join us there on KSCJ around 6:36. They go on the 7:02 is their first pitch, but it's about 7:05. 7:02 is kind of a sponsored thing they do. They'll say 7:02 plus 3, 7:02 plus 2, whatever, but right around the 7 o'clock hour there. But first pitch here for Newman Outdoor. Now, the one more thing today, it's a little cloudy out right now. We do expect some showers and thunderstorms from about 4 o'clock onward. And about at 4 o'clock, it's 20%. Get close to the game time, it goes up. We do expect some rain tonight, and that can be hit or miss. They had rain here over the weekend that basically it's flat here and the water doesn't drain extremely well. And if they get enough rain, well, the good thing for us is any kind of long delay or any kind of rain out, we played them at home, so there'd be a doubleheader there. So that's not the last time. We don't have to wait around like we would in Gary if we would have had to wait around on Sunday, which we did anyway with our bus. But anyway, yeah, we do expect some rain tonight, so stand by for that. I hope we don't get the same situation we got into over the weekend where it was Sunday. Sunday we started late, right? I don't remember. No. When did we start late? When did we run the pregame show? Monday. It was Tuesday here. Austin and I ran the pregame show for a daggum hour and finally stepped aside because I was like, I want to hear me talk about the same thing. It's like this show, right? We need to get out of here now. We've heard Vaughn talk way too long, so get him off the air. It's 30 minutes. Too long to hear him talk. Anyway, I'm glad you guys are along. We'll be back tomorrow at home, tomorrow night. Chicago's in town. The only time they come to town. The Dogs will be there. It'll be an interesting matchup. Couple second-place teams tomorrow night. No matter what happens today here, we'll be in second place tomorrow. Game time at 7:05. Gates open at 6. T-shirt night tomorrow night. And then Saturday is the jersey night at 6. And Sunday is the fun day with the military appreciation and Bark in the Park all this weekend. Right now, they're standing by at the box office. They're at Lewis and Clark, or go to exosbaseball.com for more information as well. Love to have you out. A 6-game homestand off on Monday, but back on Tuesday. And Tuesday will be Winnipeg. So 6 games at home, and really just the baseball math. You win 2 of 3 of every of those series. You're taking days off the calendar and just pushing them one more step further to a postseason berth. And it looks like this is going to be a fun stretch of August. So please come out. I invite you to come see us. Ball club is really fun to watch. I'm telling you, you've got a heck of a pitching staff. You saw it again last night. Tokar was great. Just phenomenal what he's been doing. By the way, Tokar 1 earned run his last 11 and a third innings. He's given up 4 earned runs his last 16 in the third innings. Kid's been really good. Really, really good. And I tip the cap there to Heitar Tokar, a man from Brazil. Okay, last call here. Don't think I got anything from you guys here. Did I miss anything? Thanks to see Brad Allred joining us. Boy, it's always good to see Brad. Good mate of mine. Kevin from This Week in the Association, the 10th Thing blog spot. By the way, Kevin wrote a piece today on Sioux Falls. They've thrown out what they've done has worked so far. Would it work the whole way? I don't know. Their offense is just dynamite, ridiculously good. What he's doing, and of course, anybody's got Jabari Henry in that card is going to be dangerous. I love Hunter Clannon; they're really good. Uh, Overall, their offense is really, really good. Wyatt Ulrich pitching, they've put a lot of college kids out there, which usually doesn't bode well in this league over the years, unless you're Greg Taggart and Gary, which he did throw a lot of college kids out there. It's worked for Sioux Falls lately. Be interested to see, though, these next 2 and 3 times that teams are seeing these guys, how that works, what your adjustments are, because you have very limited scouting report on a kid out of college. How do you make that adjustment? How those reports get shared by some teams too, and how do you adjust to a guy that you haven't seen but once, and all you have is that one sample size? Be interested to see. No. First off, Steve, don't know. I didn't bring my trucks. Although last 2 days were by the pool, but we didn't do it today. I got to pack up. We have a 3:30 bus, and I was going to go downtown to the Atomic Coffee Shop, which I went to the other day. On Monday, I didn't go to. I love that place, but just pack them up, and I had stuff to pack here. I'm behind on game notes. I fell. Last night, I fell asleep doing game notes, and I fell asleep right here in this chair. Fell asleep, woke up. It's 4 a.m, sitting there sleeping for 2 hours. A little Arnold Palmer today, too. I drank my iced coffee. I slammed it this morning. Anyway, no, I'm not doing that. Not by the pool. No poolside. Assuming a hurricane, maybe. Yeah, assuming a hurricane. There you go. Mai Tai. Let's go, X's. Reggie, let's do it. You guys ready for this? Let's go. Broadcast tonight. We'll see you at 6:35. Sioux City, a big win tonight. A chance to win a series. And again, it would be historic. You've not won. First time you never played 3 series in a season down here, because that's not what you do usually, because you don't do that. But they did that this year, whoever they is, schedule makers. But hey, that'd be big. Be really big down here. All right. So 1, 2, 3, go X's. I'm ready. You're ready. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, go X's. I'll see the broadcast tonight, everybody. Excuse me.